Ladies and gentlemen, all right, now listen up. Because what I'm about to say might just save your heart from being played like a game of cards. Have you ever looked back at a broken relationship and thought, dang, the signs were right there, how did I miss M? You ain't alone. See, most women don't get blindsided by a man cheating. They get hope blinded. Blinded by the hope that he'll change, that he means it this time, that if you just love him a little harder, stay a little longer, he'll finally do right. But here's the truth. A man who's going to cheat will tell you, not always with his words, but with his actions. The problem is, the warning signs don't always look loud. Sometimes they come wrapped in charm, in good morning texts, in sweet nothings that actually mean nothing. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll mistake red flags for roses. That's why this conversation matters. Because once you can spot the signs, a man who craves constant attention, avoids real commitment, hides his phone like it's the Holy Grail, you'll stop giving your loyalty to someone who doesn't even respect it. This ain't just about calling out the cheaters. It's about protecting your peace, your time, your heart. You deserve love that doesn't lie to you behind your back. So if you've ever been hurt, confused, or left wondering, why did this happen again? This right here is the wake up call. Stay with me, because once you learn these signs, no man will ever play you again without you seeing it coming from a mile away. Let's get into it. When a man constantly needs attention from other women, that's not just some harmless personality trait. It's a red flag waving in the wind. Now, let's be real. Everybody likes to feel good about themselves. We all like a compliment every now and then, but there's a big difference between a man who enjoys being appreciated and a man who needs to be validated by every woman that crosses his path. That neediness, that constant fishing for compliments, laughing too hard at women's jokes, sliding into DMs under the radar, always just being nice to every female friend a little too much. That's not innocent. That's emotional cheating waiting to grow into physical cheating. A man who's loyal doesn't have the time or the desire to chase validation from every direction. He's too busy focusing on the woman he chose. But when a man is always searching for female attention, he's showing you that one woman's admiration isn't enough for him. That's not about you. It's about him. That's his insecurity, his ego needing to be fed constantly. It means he doesn't know how to stand tall in who he is unless he's being admired, praised, or desired by someone else. And when that praise stops or slows down, guess what? He'll start looking somewhere else for it. It starts small. Maybe he's always liking girls' pictures on Instagram. Maybe you catch him commenting on posts like he's single. Maybe he forgets to mention he's in a relationship when he meets someone new. And when you bring it up, he brushes it off. You're overthinking, he says. It's not that deep, but deep down, you know something's off. You feel that little twist in your stomach, that question that won't go away. That's your intuition waving a red flag. Don't ignore it. See, a man who is loyal doesn't entertain temptation. It's not that temptation doesn't exist. It always will. But a man who's truly into you doesn't go seeking it. He doesn't need women to tell him he looks good or stroke his ego to feel like a man. He knows who he is, and he chooses you every single day. The moment a man starts needing attention outside of the relationship, he's cracking the door open to cheating. And the longer you ignore it, the wider that door swings. You might tell yourself, well, he hasn't actually cheated, so maybe I'm just being too sensitive. But cheating isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, and it always starts with a mindset. A man who craves other women's attention is already stepping away from the relationship. He may not have crossed the final line yet, but he's walking in that direction. That kind of a man doesn't just want love. he wants an audience. And when your love doesn't feel like enough for him, he'll start auditioning for someone else's. Don't get it twisted. This isn't about jealousy or insecurity. It's about respect. Respect for you. Respect for the relationship. A man who truly values his partner makes her feel secure. He makes her feel like she's the only one, even in a room full of options. If your man is always out there needing to be seen, needing to be complimented, needing to be noticed by other women, that means he's still searching for something he hasn't found within himself. And until he finds it, no relationship will ever be enough for him. So if you're with someone who's always needing that outside validation, pay attention. Don't let the smiles, the laughs, or the sweet talk blind you to deeper issue. Because love shouldn't feel like a competition. You shouldn't have to fight for his attention when you already have his heart. If you do, that heart was never fully yours to begin with. And that's not on you, that's on him. Love yourself enough to walk away from a man who can't be satisfied with the real thing. Because you deserve more than being someone's main while they're still looking for better on the side. You deserve a man who sees you and needs nothing more. When a man avoids talking about commitment or gets angry when you bring up the future, that's a huge warning sign that he's not ready to settle down. Or worse, he might not ever want to. It's easy to think that maybe he's just not a talker when it comes to serious subjects. But let me tell you, when a man truly cares about you and sees a future with you, he'll want to talk about it. He'll want to know where this relationship is headed. He'll want to know how you feel about the next steps. And he'll want to make sure you're on the same page. But when he shuts down those conversations, avoids them altogether, or, worst of all, gets mad at you for bringing them up, you've got to ask yourself why. Avoiding commitment talk is a way of protecting himself from having to give you real answers. Maybe he doesn't want to hurt your feelings by telling you he's not interested in a serious relationship. Maybe he's not sure he's ready to make you the priority you deserve. Maybe he's not as invested as you are. Whatever the reason, the behavior is telling you one thing: he's not looking for the same thing you are. And deep down, you know that's not what you want. If you've been patient, waiting for him to come around, or giving him the benefit of the doubt, stop. You don't need to convince someone to commit to you. They should want to do it on their own because they see something in you that's worth building a future together. Commitment is about trust. It's about knowing that someone is in your corner, that they're going to stick by you through thick and thin, and that no matter what happens, they're in it for the long haul. But a man who avoids talking about the future doesn't want to face that reality. He's not thinking about growing with you. He's thinking about his own freedom, his own independence, or maybe even just his own comfort. And while there's nothing wrong with being independent, a relationship built on two people working together toward a common future isn't a one-sided thing. It takes both parties to be equally invested in that commitment. If one person is not even willing to discuss it, the other person is left feeling uncertain, disrespected, and maybe even confused. And confusion, that's a relationship killer. Think about it. When you bring up the future, you're trying to see if you're aligned in your goals, values, and desires. You want to know if he's willing to put in the work it takes to build something real. But when he shuts you down or dismisses the conversation entirely, he's telling you, I don't want to build with you. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. Relationships take work. They take dedication, and they take planning. If he's not ready for that, then you're just wasting your time and energy on someone who might not ever be ready for the commitment you deserve. The truth is, commitment isn't something you should have to beg for. If a man sees you as his future, He'll talk about it with you. He'll bring up the next steps, the dreams you can share together, and the ways you'll both support each other to reach them. But if every conversation about the future is met with resistance, avoidance, or anger, it's time to start reevaluating what you're getting from this relationship. You don't deserve to be in a relationship where you're left wondering if you're just a temporary fix or someone's backup plan. Every relationship should have moments of growth and clarity. You should be able to communicate openly about your desires, fears, and the direction you're heading in together. If that kind of conversation is something he avoids at all costs, it's not about you. It's about what he's afraid to face. It's about the fact that he doesn't see you as part of his long-term plans. So don't waste any more time trying to convince him otherwise. Because let's be honest, if a man truly values you and your relationship, he won't shy away from talking about what's next. He'll be excited about it. And if he's not, you've got to ask yourself, why am I settling for someone who won't commit to me when I'm giving him everything I've got? Your time, your energy, and your love are worth more than a man who can't even talk about a future together. Don't let someone hold you back from the relationship you deserve, one where you're both equally committed to building something lasting. If he can't have those conversations, then maybe it's time to walk away and find someone who's ready to plan that future with you. When a man's actions don't align with his words, that's a major red flag. Words are easy. Anyone can say anything, and we've all heard a man say he wants to be with you, that he loves you, that he's committed to making things work. But actions tell the real story. When you look at his behavior, does it match the promises he's made? If not, that's not just a small issue. That's a serious problem. If his actions contradict his words time and time again, you have to ask yourself, why am I believing what he says when his actions are telling me something completely different? It's one thing to have good intentions, but intentions without follow through are just empty promises. If a man is constantly saying one thing but doing another, it creates confusion and mistrust. You start to feel like you're in a situation where you can't rely on him, and you're constantly questioning his sincerity. One day he's telling you how much he loves you, and the next he's doing things that hurt or disrespect you. The confusion sets in because his words seem so genuine, but the reality of his actions is telling you something different. This dissonance between words and actions isn't just a little misunderstanding. It's a sign that he might not be as invested in you or the relationship as he's letting on. The reality is that when a man truly cares for you, he shows it. Love isn't just a word, it's a verb. It's something you demonstrate through your actions. If he says he wants to spend time with you, but every time you try to make plans, he's too busy, that's not showing love. If he says he's committed, but his actions show otherwise, like flirting with other women or canceling dates without a valid reason, that's a huge red flag. Words without action are just words. They don't hold weight. They don't carry any meaning. And eventually, you start to see through them. You start realizing that he's telling you what you want to hear, but his actions are telling you something else. It's important to look at the pattern of behavior over time. One mistake here or there is forgivable, but when it becomes a consistent theme, it's a clear sign that something's off. Maybe he'll say he'll change, that he'll do better. But talk is cheap. The real test is whether or not his behavior changes. If you're consistently being told that things will get better or that he loves you, but the behavior doesn't follow, that's not love. It's manipulation. It's him trying to keep you emotionally invested while not actually putting in the effort to build a healthy, functioning relationship. This is where self-respect comes in. You have to ask yourself if you're willing to accept someone who only values you in words but doesn't show it through actions. Because let's be honest, you deserve more than that. You deserve someone who doesn't just tell you he's there for you, he shows it. You deserve someone who doesn't just say he loves you, but backs that up with consistent effort, respect, and care. If his actions don't match his words, then it's time to question if he's really the one for you. When you see the pattern of his words not matching his actions, it's not about him needing more time or space to change. It's about his true character. A man who is ready for a serious relationship will follow through with what he says. He won't make promises he doesn't intend to keep. He won't leave you hanging or keep you guessing about where you stand. His actions will show that he values you, that he's committed to making the relationship work, and that he's willing to do the things necessary to show you that his words are not just empty promises. If you're still holding on to hope, thinking things will change, you're setting yourself up for heartache. The truth is, a man's actions reveal the truth about his feelings, his priorities, and his intentions. You don't have to guess or wonder if he's being truthful. You just have to pay attention to what he does. Actions speak louder than words. And if his actions aren't aligning with the love and commitment he claims to feel for you, it's time to let go and move on. You deserve someone who treats you with the respect and love you've been showing them, not someone who just talks the talk without walking the walk. Trust your instincts and don't settle for anything less than a man whose actions align with his words. If the two don't match, it's time to walk away. You deserve to be in a relationship where your worth is clear in both what is said and what is done. When a man starts becoming distant or emotionally unavailable, it's usually a clear sign that something's off in the relationship. At first, you may chalk it up to stress at work, personal issues, or just a busy period in his life. But if this behavior becomes a consistent pattern, it's time to look deeper into the situation. Emotional distance isn't something that should be ignored because it typically means that the man is withdrawing from you on some level. And it's often a precursor to something bigger, like infidelity or a lack of commitment. Think about it. When you first start a relationship, you feel connected to each other. You talk often. You share your thoughts, your feelings, and your experiences. There's a mutual sense of openness and trust. But if that communication suddenly starts dwindling, if you feel like you're reaching out more than he is, or if he's avoiding deep conversations about your relationship, then there's a real disconnect happening. The more distant he becomes, the more likely it is that he's pulling away emotionally, and this isn't something that just happens overnight. It's a gradual process that reflects a deeper issue at play. It's also important to recognize that emotional distance doesn't always show up in the form of outright coldness or harshness. Sometimes a man can be emotionally distant and still act like everything is fine on the surface. He might still text you, spend time with you, and even tell you he cares about you. But beneath the surface, there's a lack of emotional connection. He may stop sharing his thoughts and feelings. He might avoid discussing important topics about the future, and he may seem uninterested in building a deeper bond. This subtle form of emotional unavailability can be even more frustrating because it leaves you confused. You know something's wrong, but he's not being overtly cruel or dismissive. In this kind of situation, you start feeling like you're the one putting in all the effort to keep the relationship afloat. You're the one initiating conversations, making plans, and trying to keep the emotional connection alive while he seems to be detached, going through the motions without really investing in the relationship. When you reach out to him emotionally, he might shut you down or brush you off. When you ask if something is wrong, he might give you vague responses like, I'm fine, or it's nothing. This can leave you feeling lost, uncertain, and unsure of where you stand. It's emotionally exhausting to keep trying when it feels like you're the only one putting in the effort. The problem with emotional distance is that it creates a wall between you and him. Walls don't just separate two people physically. They also create emotional barriers that make it harder to communicate, solve problems, and grow together as a couple. Over time, the emotional disconnect can turn into a full-blown breakdown in communication where it feels like you're speaking different languages. You may try to address the issue, but he might respond with defensiveness or avoidance, making it even harder to get through to him. This is where you have to take a step back and ask yourself, am I the only one who's still invested in this relationship? If you're the only one trying to maintain emotional closeness, if you're the only one making an effort to communicate and understand what's going on, then you're in a one-sided relationship. That's not healthy. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to your emotional well-being. Emotional distance can also signal deeper issues, such as a fear of commitment or emotional baggage that he hasn't dealt with. Some men have trouble opening up emotionally, especially if they've been hurt in the past or have never learned how to communicate their feelings in a healthy way. But while that's understandable, it doesn't mean that you should have to tolerate being emotionally neglected. If he's not willing to make an effort to bridge the gap and connect with you on an emotional level, then it's unlikely that he's invested in making the relationship work. And no matter how much you care for him or how much potential you see in the relationship, you can't fix it alone. If he's emotionally unavailable or distant, it's essential to recognize the toll this is taking on you. You deserve someone who is open, communicative, and emotionally present in the relationship. You deserve someone who is willing to work through issues together, who values the connection you share, and who is committed to building a future with you. If you're constantly feeling like you're on your own, emotionally speaking, then it's time to consider whether or not this relationship is fulfilling your needs. Ultimately, emotional distance in a man is a reflection of his inability or unwillingness to connect deeply with you. It's a clear sign that he's not as committed to the relationship as you are, and that's something you should never have to settle for. You deserve a partnership where both people are equally invested, emotionally available, and working together to build something lasting. If he's not capable or willing to meet you halfway, it might be time to walk away and find someone who can give you the emotional connection you deserve. When a man becomes overly focused on his appearance, his career, or material success at the expense of the emotional or relational aspects of the relationship, it's often a warning sign that he may be more interested in superficial achievements than in building a genuine connection. While it's normal for someone to want to do well in their career or to take care of their physical appearance, when these priorities overshadow the relationship, it can indicate that the relationship isn't being nurtured the way it should be. In a healthy relationship, both partners need to prioritize each other and the bond they share. However, when a man is constantly preoccupied with how he looks, how others perceive him, or his success in work and material possessions, it creates a power imbalance. It suggests that his self-worth and validation come from external factors rather than from the relationship or from deeper emotional connections. When a man is more focused on impressing others with his wealth, status, or physical attributes than on building intimacy or providing emotional support, it signals a deeper issue. This behavior often results in him becoming disconnected from the emotional needs of the relationship. Instead of showing affection, offering emotional support, or engaging in meaningful conversations, he might place more importance on status symbols, new clothes, the latest tech gadgets, or career accomplishments. While it's fine for someone to enjoy their success or want to look good, if he constantly tries to prove his worth based on these external factors, it indicates that he's struggling to see the value of an emotionally fulfilling relationship. This behavior often leaves the other partner feeling neglected and unimportant. Moreover, when a man is overly focused on his material or physical success, he might start viewing the relationship through a transactional lens. He may think that offering material gifts or demonstrating outward success is enough to keep the relationship intact. However, this is a shallow approach. The foundation of a strong and lasting relationship isn't based on material things. It's about trust, respect, emotional connection, and shared experiences. When a man relies too heavily on external validation to maintain the relationship, he fails to recognize that true intimacy and connection come from vulnerability, emotional engagement, and shared support. These qualities go far beyond the superficial and are what truly nourish the relationship. This also goes hand in hand with a lack of emotional investment. If a man is more concerned with how much money he makes, how many promotions he's received, or how many people admire his looks, he may lack the capacity to invest emotionally in the relationship. Instead of discussing meaningful topics or sharing his feelings, he may spend the majority of his time talking about his job or his latest physical transformation. This imbalance can leave his partner feeling like she is just an accessory in his life rather than an equal, valued partner. It also fosters feelings of isolation in the relationship because it highlights a lack of communication and mutual emotional engagement. Another issue that can arise from this fixation on external factors is insecurity. When a man is constantly chasing after material success or perfecting his appearance, it could be a sign of insecurity or a lack of self-worth. Instead of cultivating emotional growth and vulnerability in the relationship, he might use external achievements to mask his insecurities. This behavior can create tension in the relationship, as the partner may feel that her role is only secondary to his image or success. Rather than building a deep emotional connection, the relationship becomes centered on constantly striving for more, without any space for real emotional bonding or intimacy. Furthermore, a man who is obsessed with these superficial aspects might struggle with long-term commitment. His career and external validation may always come first, and he may avoid discussing future plans or making joint decisions with his partner. Relationships require communication, compromise, and a willingness to plan together for the future. If a man is always focused on his job or his image, it's likely that he's not as committed to the relationship's long-term future. This lack of future planning can create frustration and anxiety in his partner, as she may feel uncertain about where the relationship is headed or whether he truly values her. The overall issue here is that when a man prioritizes these external factors over emotional connection, it leads to an unbalanced relationship. It can cause his partner to feel undervalued, neglected, or even disposable. The relationship becomes a superficial partnership based on external validation rather than a deep, meaningful bond that comes from mutual care, emotional support, and shared life goals. Ultimately, relationships thrive when both partners are willing to invest in one another emotionally. If a man's obsession with his image, career, or material possessions becomes the dominant force in his life, it shows that he may be more interested in proving his worth than in forming a genuine connection. A relationship built on these foundations can never reach its full potential. Emotional intimacy, deep connection, and mutual respect cannot be replaced with material success or physical appearances. When a man is more concerned with the external than the internal, it's time to evaluate whether this relationship is truly fulfilling and whether both partners are on the same page about what truly matters. When a man consistently demonstrates an unwillingness to compromise, it can be one of the most significant red flags in a relationship. Compromise is a foundational element of any healthy partnership. It's how two individuals with differing opinions, backgrounds, and needs find common ground. It's what allows couples to make decisions together, resolve conflicts, and maintain harmony. In a relationship, both partners need to be able to meet halfway, whether it's about day-to-day decisions, future plans, or even handling disagreements. When one partner, especially the man in this case, refuses to compromise, it can create tension and resentment, ultimately leading to feelings of isolation and emotional neglect. A man who is constantly unwilling to compromise signals a deeper issue within the relationship. It often means that he is either overly focused on his own needs, desires, or beliefs, or he lacks the emotional maturity to understand the importance of meeting his partner halfway. Relationships are not about one person always getting their way. They are about mutual respect, trust, and the willingness to support one another, even when it's difficult or uncomfortable. If one partner consistently refuses to bend or consider the other person's perspective, it leads to an imbalance in the relationship, leaving one person constantly feeling unheard and unimportant. This lack of willingness to compromise also reveals a certain level of selfishness, as it shows that the man places his needs and preferences above the well-being of the relationship or his partner. Healthy relationships require a balance of give and take. Compromise isn't just about making concessions. It's about working together to find solutions that benefit both people. If a man's unwillingness to compromise becomes a pattern, it suggests that he may not be fully invested in the partnership, as he's more concerned with his own comfort and desires than with maintaining a fair and balanced relationship. Over time, this dynamic can leave the other partner feeling emotionally drained, unsupported, and even disrespected. Additionally, a refusal to compromise can prevent growth in the relationship. Relationships evolve as both individuals grow and change over time. In order for a partnership to thrive, both people need to be flexible and willing to adapt to new circumstances. When one partner refuses to meet halfway, it stifles the growth of the relationship, as it suggests that one person is unwilling to adjust to changes or to support their partner in navigating life's challenges. If one person is always insistent on having things their way, it can create a toxic environment where progress is impossible. This dynamic can be especially damaging when it comes to long-term plans like moving in together, starting a family, or making important decisions about the future. If a man continually refuses to compromise, it can create uncertainty and prevent both partners from feeling secure about their shared future. In relationships, disagreements are inevitable. It's part of being human. No two people will agree on everything all the time. The key to resolving disagreements is finding a way to meet in the middle. If a man is unwilling to compromise, conflicts tend to escalate rather than resolve. Instead of working together to find solutions, the couple may find themselves stuck in an endless cycle of arguments and frustration. Over time, this constant tension can erode the emotional connection between the partners and create feelings of resentment, as one partner may feel like their opinions, needs, and desires are consistently overlooked. Moreover, a lack of compromise can lead to communication breakdowns. Healthy communication is vital for the success of any relationship, and it often requires both people to be open and receptive to one another's thoughts and feelings. When one person is unwilling to compromise, it's usually an indication that they are not fully listening to their partner or considering their partner's perspective. This leads to feelings of invalidation, as the other person may feel like their input doesn't matter. Over time, this can create emotional distance between the couple, as they may stop sharing their thoughts, feelings, and concerns for fear that they won't be heard or respected. Effective communication which is necessary for resolving issues, becomes nearly impossible when compromise isn't on the table. Furthermore, when a man refuses to compromise, it can create a sense of power imbalance in the relationship. Relationships are meant to be partnerships where both individuals have an equal say and contribute to decision making. If one partner always insists on having their way, it can create an unhealthy dynamic where the other person feels powerless, neglected, or unseen. In the worst case, this could lead to emotional manipulation, where one person uses their refusal to compromise as a way of controlling the relationship. This imbalance can leave the partner feeling trapped, as they may feel like their needs and opinions don't matter. It also erodes the trust and equality that is necessary for a thriving partnership. In the end, a refusal to compromise is a major warning sign that the relationship may be in trouble. Relationships require mutual effort, respect, and understanding. If one partner, particularly the man, is consistently unwilling to compromise, it signals that they are not fully invested in maintaining a healthy, balanced relationship. The longer this behavior goes unchecked, the more damage it can do. Compromise is not just about giving in to the other person. It's about finding solutions together, supporting each other, and building a partnership where both individuals feel heard, respected, and valued. If a man consistently refuses to compromise, it's important to evaluate whether this relationship is truly meeting both partners' needs and whether it has the potential for long-term growth.